expand energy production, or build new roads and bridges. Yeah, the abundance agenda is wondering, why don't Democrats want to deregulate the oil industry further? I don't understand.
I get it.
Yeah, here's like the full section from the poll. Abundance. The big problem is, quote, bottlenecks that make it harder to produce housing, expand energy production, or build new roads and bridges. Frequently, these bottlenecks take the form of well-intended regulations meant to give people a voice or to protect the environment, but these regulations are exploited by organized interest groups and community groups to slow things down. This is another thing about the abundance agenda, is this is like their big enemy are the groups. And what they mean when they say the groups is they mean anyone except a corporation.
Yep. Yeah.
Like actual people coming together, like unions or community groups or environmental groups, rights groups. These are the nefarious forces of our times, the scary groups. You know, why can't they just be normal, form an LLC?
Yeah, I mean, you don't need a group. You just need a lawyer to represent you. Like, you don't need a group. You just need like a lobbyist. Like, what are you doing?
This increases costs and makes it harder for us to provide for everybody's needs. We need to push back against these groups so the government and economy can work better for working and middle-class Americans. If a candidate for Congress or president made the abundance argument, would that make you more likely or less likely to vote for him? Like, and I don't know. To me, this seems like a no-brainer, but like, I don't blame Democrats for having to actually put forward a poll to their voters saying, would you vote for Ronald Reagan?
Yeah.
That is an important thing to know about your voter. That is like an important distinction to make. Do you think that we should just get government out of the way and let the makers and the job creators in this society do what they fucking do best, which is provide services and goods for everybody? Like, I don't know. Like, I know libs have strayed unnervingly into neocon and centrist territory lately, but I still think that this discussion about deregulation would and should get you laughed out of most like democratic like local parties.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny too, because it's that whole thing where it's like, this is basically just like marketing, you know, and you're just going to kind of like a little idiot and being like, how do you feel about abundance? Doesn't that sound like a good thing?
I don't know.
Like, I think it sounds like you're going to have a lot of stuff, like a lot of it. Doesn't that sound great? Do you want that? And it's like that's no. All it is, you know. It's like just a way to kind of candy coat something that's. It sounds like they're doing the same thing they've always done. It sounds like nothing's really changed, except for they're calling it abundance.
Actually, I'm a communist.
They're admitting it's not the populist thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm a communist, and I don't think we should own anything ever. And we'll be happy from owning nothing. Zero.
Do you guys want abundance, or do you guys want what this guy's selling? Despair. It looks like you only got two choices here.
Okay, so like this is the description that the poll gave about abundance, and this is the description that they gave for populist. For underpopulist message, the big problem is that big corporations have way too much power over our economy and our government. They work to prevent the government from making investments in things like expanding access to affordable clean energy, housing, and infrastructure improvements so that they can maximize their own profits. I don't know about a corporation wanting to maximize profits. That doesn't sound like the community service that I'm used to seeing corporations pursue.
No. If that was the case, I don't think the people in their commercials would be so excited to work for them.
If you go after like profits, your company's just going to fail, because what people want are like from their corporations, and what the promise that corporations make to us is that of personal values.
You know, it just sucks that we have to consider abundance instead of the corporations. Have the corporations considered abundance instead of doing this other stuff they're doing? Totally.
I just want abundance for them too. Like, I don't need abundance for me. I need abundance for corporations, because they're going to pass it down.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Trickle down. It's gonna work out this time.
Corporations also try to raise prices by as much as they can, which is easier than ever because the economy is so concentrated in the hands of just a few people. We need to hold this is like something that would work on a Republican. This is like such clear-cut, obvious, good messaging that of course it's a danger to the capitalist class. Of course they don't want to see this. They hate to see this winning, you know?
Yeah.
We need to hold these corporations accountable and reduce their power so the government and economy can work better for working and middle-class Americans. If a candidate for Congress or president made the populist argument, would that make you more or less likely to vote for them? Okay, so here we get into some criticisms, some reactions from these abundance people, like Nurut Beich, who says this is not a credible poll. It was commissioned by a progressive group. I think they mean group.
It makes it sound like an exotic resistance group, you know?
A progressive group and gave a critical description of the abundance agenda, brackets, the question praised regulation, and a boosterist description of populism, brackets, corporations are bad. Do you agree? So I think, yeah, again, like the main problem they have, they don't think it's fair that populism is popular.
Yeah, it's funny because like now abundance is like a new idea that they're putting out here. They're not using
it's a new name.
It's not just the definition of abundance, you know, that they're working. But populism is a very well established idea and, you know, word like that's always. And we're talking about democracy, and it's funny that we're having it like even a discussion about, hey, do you want the thing where the people get what they want, or do you want this other thing where you kind of like let us do our thing? And we're still like debating over that. Like they're not giving a wrong description of populism.
No, and I think you could give like this was like a progressive polling firm, you know, progressive group. Yeah. That put this out, so they're not going to give an uncharitable definition of populism, I wouldn't think. But there are ways to say that, you know, the ways that you could tarnish the idea of populism, like they do that via the Trump administration. Like they call Trump a populist. They call Trump's economic policies populist, and we've talked about this. You know, what the right wing considers populist, such as, like getting the government off the backs of regular America. Like they try to frame that as populism, or they gin up hatred of specific groups like immigrants or trans people or gay people. And then they say, well, we're just doing what the people want. The people can't stop thinking about trans people and your genitals in general. And so we just got to go along with it. And so liberals have like this good straw man for populism in Trump and the MAGA movement that they can point to try and discredit populism. But they're not even trying to do that here. They're whining that the actual economic populism that left and Democratic voters recognize as populism, as popular ideas, are just too popular. Yeah. And it's funny because in this critique, they gave a critical description of the abundance agenda. The question praised regulation. They're like accusing this poll of saying that the abundance movement actually likes regulation when they don't. So it was confusing for them or something. And it's like, if you read this, it's very clearly a charitable description of abundance, because the abundance people would never say we hate regulations for the environment and all government regulations are bad, because their audience are liberals who know the benefits of government regulations and know the benefit of environmental protections. So they framed it very charitably, in my opinion, like the way an abundance spin doctor would say, hey, these regulations, they're often well-meaning. You know, people, you know, stupid idiot groups, you know, they wanted these regulations, but they didn't know the ramifications of the regulations. So I just, it's very hard to engage with this stuff as an abundance person and make any sense, I think.
It's really leaning on that whole idea that, like, no, the masses are stupid, and that's why we need the select few to do what needs to be done, and not what the people actually want.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's what this whole thing is based on. Is like, no, people are dumb. That's why I'm a politician, so I can take care of the people.
Yeah, it's like a liberal technocratic view of governance, where all it takes is like somebody who's willing to shuck their party for the practical solutions, and how little tweaks here and there are all we need to like perfect this system, which is already great. It's just, it's just maybe been drifting in the wrong direction or something like that. But we don't need to throw out the baby with the bathwater, More responses here from Adam Gentleson. So this is the guy who was hiding John Fetterman's derangement for like a year on behalf of Israel, who finally came out and was like, actually, the whole time I was working for him, I was saying, this is bad. This guy's going to kill somebody or himself, but I couldn't say it. I wrote it down in my private diary for proof that I'm a good person later, that I could leak to a reporter. However, I did let John Fetterman get behind the wheel of a car while drunk, texting with his wife. But he's now an abundance guy apparently, and he quotes somebody else who says, they don't include the full question text anywhere in this Axios article, but from the included line alone, I'd bet you $1 that respondents don't understand what you mean by bottlenecks here. Okay, so going back to the description of abundance, the big problem is, quote, bottlenecks that make it harder to produce housing, expand energy production, or build new roads and bridges. Okay, so not only is the word bottlenecks in quotes because it's an abundance word, it is a word used in this abundance book instead of red tape, which is the age-old cliche that these people have always been using. They've always used red tape to try and trick people into thinking cutting government services is somehow going to make things better for themselves. So the abundance rebrand goes hand in hand with the bottleneck rebrand, with the rebrand of red tape. But it's not fair for you to use that word because that's not the word that people typically use, despite the fact that they define it. Yeah. They define it right after they say it. And I don't like bottleneck just sounds like, that sounds like a narrowing of possibility. It sounds like things maybe getting stuck in a pileup or something like that. Like anybody who's driven a car knows what a fucking bottleneck is.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone who's drinking from a bottle knows what a bottleneck is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Adam quote tweeted this and said, this is a good example how groups, again, just groups, we hate those groups. This is a good example of how groups cook polls. Candidates typically say, quote, cut red tape, which probably performs better than just bottlenecks. But the group massages the question wording, gets the outcome they want, and bored reporters write it up as if it's something. It's just like, do you think Democrats, they would have been raring to hear red tape, cutting red tape in the message, but they got tricked into hearing bottlenecks. Oh, bottlenecks. That doesn't sound as pleasing to my ear as cutting red tape, which I love to hear. Like, it's very funny to have to create this whole fake new brand for an old thing.
Yeah.
And then get mad that people are using that people are dealing with the newly branded thing like it is its own thing. That's what you wanted. You wanted people to take this as a new thing, as a totally different than the other thing. And you're like, well, that's not fair because you're not saying deregulation.
Yeah, you played yourself. Come on.
Yeah. And I don't know that there's ever any evidence that Democrats want politicians to say they're going to cut red tape. That is like 100% centrist Republican stuff.
Yeah. I mean, if anything, a lot of the things that, Democrats have campaigned under are just what's called red tape. So it doesn't really, doesn't really work out. Yeah, it's just, and it's funny too. It's like to cope over this poll just kind of shows how bleak things are for the Democratic Party.
Oh yeah, like I don't like I'm happy that voters are not falling for abundance apparently, but it doesn't give me any faith then the party leaders are going to give the voters what they actually want. You know, that's never been the case in my experience. What was I going to say here? Yeah, I guess like Clinton, like, you know, in the immediate aftermath of Reagan, Democrats definitely did do like a deregulatory pivot to the right. But since Obama, the Democratic message has been pretty strongly like CEOs are the problem. You know, the Democratic Party itself has fought against class war, has fought against like demonizing the wealthy, which is like the marching order that Kamala Harris got during her campaign. You know, quit denigrating our donors, dipshit. That sort of thing. But no, the like voters have strongly been in like the Occupy Wall Street, Bernie Crat brand of politics for the last 30 years, you know, since Obama. And so the idea that like red tape would be well, you cheated by you didn't use the surefire red tape phrase that all Democratic voters love. Yeah, Eric Levitz, who's I only vaguely like recognize his name. I can just tell he like writes for the Washington Post or the New York Times because of his avatar. Mm-hmm. He's got like a fake pencil drawing caricature of him. You know, it's not quite a Hirschfelder New York Post stylized drawing, but this definitely like is in his masthead at the or not masthead in his bio at the Atlantic or Washington Post or something like that. He says, 1, this poll is shamelessly hackish.
I think the word hackish is pretty hackish.
Yeah, you could just say hack.
Yeah. Trying too hard, bro.
I also like that he's just like, 1, this poll is shamelessly hackish. And I'm an astute reader. I'm like, yeah, totally, dude. Yeah, definitely. Good point. This shit is hackish for real. 2, populist rhetoric is definitely more resonant than technocratic critiques of zoning and NEPA. So, again, yeah, obviously their message is more popular than ours. 3, the political case for abundance is that voters will punish you if shit gets expensive, not that, quote, fight bottlenecks is a popular message. Yeah, and so, okay, so this is they want to frame the argument instead of, well, abundance means cheap things. Everything is cheap and affordable and good and better for you.
Yeah.
And really technologically advanced and will raise your material standards of life. Isn't that good? And you're like, oh shit, yeah.
It does sound good.
Wow, damn, you're right.
I could buy eggs again? Oh my God.
But then you ask them how, and their answer is, oh, we're going to deregulate.
Yeah.
Or we're going to give corporations more freedom.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, don't they have more freedom now than like they've ever had? I don't. And thing like, aren't things more cheaply made now than they've ever been? And it's still extremely hard to, you know, afford life.
And you know, like the Democrats are doomed too, because they're still framing it in that way. They're still framing it in like, hey, things are just too expensive. Not like, hey, listen, like you don't have the means. We're not. You don't have. You know,
it's not up to you.
Resources. Yeah. You know, we need to pay you more. You need to make a better living. They're still going under the things are too expensive. Not you don't have enough.
Well, and I would say you need to go farther than that. It's not. It's things are too expensive, and it goes back to like, you know, housing. It goes back to healthcare, but it certainly fucking applies to like groceries and stuff that, you know, food, things that we need to survive. It's not just that things are too expensive or that I don't make enough money. It's that you don't have any say in how much any of this stuff costs because it's all privately owned. It's all privately owned and directed. And that's how our entire fucking economy functions. And I think it's a very strong message that you could send to people. And or you could, I don't know, give to people about how undemocratic our entire economy is. Not only in your workplace, where you probably don't have a union, it's definitely not a worker co-op or anything like that. You experience this anti-democratic shit every single fucking day you go to work. And you also experience it when you need to go grocery shopping. You need to, go to the doctor. Like, you experience this like utter lack of power you have in your own life. And like, you can raise wages, through, I mean, the most effective way to do that is through organizing a union. But you can raise things by minimum wage and other legislation like that. That's not going to stop corporations from raising their prices. And you can say, oh, we'll put a price cap on it. Well, that doesn't stop corporations from going voluntarily filing for bankruptcy and just like selling off all of those means that we're talking about, the means of production, to a private equity firm who can then profit off of it and whatever. Like, you have to actually take control of these systems if you want the best chance at your desired outcome. And now Democrats, like, I don't know, I think a lot of Democratic voters are more than primed for that argument. We've been living with half measures our whole life and technocratic tweaks to this thing our whole lives, and it's all gotten worse, and so I think the Democratic voters are being radicalized, or are just like radicalizing themselves from existing in America. Whether or not that's going to translate to actual political power does remain to be seen. That's like it's a big if.
Yeah, I would go ahead and say that, the problem here is not Democratic voters. I think that the Democratic base is becoming more radicalized. I think the problem is definitely the Democratic Party, which is ignoring the populist opinion and
trying to suppress it.
Trying to suppress it. Yeah, like denying it. That's definitely the problem.
Yeah, Jonathan Chait here, this guy, he's like what, New York Times columnist, centrist guy. This kind of poll, testing competing messages, designed by a party with an interest in the outcome, is literally worthless. Oh, see, I thought the poll looked bad for you guys and the ideology that you've sort of like hinged everything upon, but apparently it's just it's worthless. It's actually a worthless poll that we shouldn't pay attention to. So that's good to know.
That's what I usually think about polls that don't have the outcome I'm looking for. Yeah, I'd say those are worthless. Those are bad polls.
Yeah, really all they're doing is confirming the priors of the people who made the poll, instead of confirming my priors, which they should be doing. Jonathan replies to himself here. Now, you could test the relative support for fixed competing messages over time and measure changes, but testing message A versus message B is just lobbying. And yeah, you've described the entire Democratic Party.
Yeah.
This is like what the Democratic Party does instead of governing, instead of legislating, instead of helping political change to come to fruition. It is only concerned with messaging. Like, that is what abundance is. Like, I don't have any doubt that Democratic leaders are more than willing to deregulate, are more than willing to cut red tape, because they have done it. They've funneled a lot of money into centrist and right-wing project, a lot of time and money and effort into these right-wing projects, in order, to appeal to, Republican voters or whatever, and they still eat shit on it. It's just funny to reduce this to like a messaging argument, because the Democratic voters who responded to this survey, they're not having a meta conversation about which is the best messaging for Democrats. That's not what they're doing. They're saying, I like Democrats who will do this.
Yes.
The messaging is just like the mechanism that communicates what a Democratic politician will actually do hypothetically, right? Yeah. Now, like, as a Democratic voter, you could be like, well, sure, I would vote for the person who has the populist message. That doesn't mean they're going to do it. You'd still have to wait and see if they actually did it. But theoretically, that's what you're measuring for. You're measuring for my desire for someone to do the thing that they say they're going to do this specific thing.
Yeah, it's like they really hate this poll because of the out of it. There's like an expectation. And they're saying, no, we never said we were going to do that. We just want to see if you like the idea of that happening, but we're not going to actually do that. That's not an option here.
Well, I think what they would like to do, what these abundance people would like to do, or would like Democrats to do, is to run on the populist messages and then just do the abundance deregulation thing.
Yeah.
Okay, let me just get to the numbers here in this poll. 55.6% of all voters preferred the populist argument, the anti-corporate argument, compared to 43% who said they would be more likely to vote for a candidate who offered the abundance argument. Those preferences were even stronger among Democratic and independent voters. 72.5% of Democrats reacted positively to the populist argument, compared to 39% for Republicans. It was 55% for independents. Given it, so just like even the independents like the populist argument more.
Yeah.
Given a direct choice, 59% of Democrats preferred the populist argument, compared to just 16% liking the abundance one. The bottom line, quote, "What these voters want is clear: a populist agenda that takes on corporate power and corruption," said Emily Peterson-Casson, corporate power director at Demand Progress.
Sorry, what? What's that title called? Corporate power director?
Yeah, I think maybe at like
that means. It just sounds evil.
It does. I think maybe she's like the director against corporate power, like them taking on corporate power. That's contextually, that's kind of what it sounds like. Although I don't know if I would have used the same title.
This whole thing is just so funny because they're like, "Hey, what do you guys like, the popular thing or the other thing?"
Yeah, it's great.
And it's like, why are they shocked that the popular thing is what's winning? It's in the name.
Well, because despite the poll and despite popularity being assumed in the populist argument, they're still somehow like convinced that cutting red tape will be the winning message. Like they think that it's more strategic to talk about cutting red tape, because even if like Democratic voters want populist programs, voters and candidates should strategically be signaling to centrists and the right wing, and more importantly, corporations, that it won't be big government doing these important things. Yeah. Because the thing is like with the idea of regulations and zoning, like there are some regulations and some zoning legislation that is predatory, that does like restrict what the government can do in order to build housing, in order to build, like multifamily dwellings, like apartment units and things like that. And so on the left, like the left would be happy, I think, to accept a lot of these, like this so-called deregulation and the so-called rezoning or whatever, as long as we as society didn't then just rely on corporations to use that deregulation to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. Like the left argument for this is, sure, like we can build things more quickly by streamlining the process of building housing. Like Ani has mentioned, modular homes, like they have the technology to build, homes and factories essentially that are then just like assembled on site. And you can do this very quickly and it would be cheaper. But then you need the government to do that. You would need like an actual giant organization to do that, which is the opposite of what the abundance agenda wants. They don't ever mention, as far as I know, in these books about the government filling the role that corporations have like abdicated. Corporations have abdicated all responsibility for providing, affordable services and goods to people, because that's not what they do. They exist to make profits. And in the increasing financialization of our economy and of this country, their profits are ever more decoupled from actual good services, from actual, good products. It's just about like what the market thinks Apple is worth, or the market thinks Google is worth, or BlackRock, or any of these fucking parasitic organizations that like at best are just weapons manufacturers, or financial organizers. And so you can say like it makes sense to cut red tape, or it's too complicated to do this and that. But unless you're also saying like, and then the government just does it, then there's no vision. There's no vision for the future here. The vision for the future is corporations will just magically start giving a shit about the future of society, which they are actively opposed to that. It's not in their interest to think about long-term effects, or long-term negative effects, or anything like that, because their interest is in maximizing profit for this quarter.
Yeah, and like another reason why it's so would it be good to have the government involved in stuff is accountability. Because like when a company releases a product that ends up being subpar or even dangerous, there's really no repercussion besides maybe a small payout, and like they get to file bankruptcy and continue to live on.
Yeah.
But if there's an incentive for the government to at least try to do a good job and make sure things are safe, but there's no incentive for a corporation to do that.
Totally, and I love having this argument with right wingers who think that it's like the government has too much power, or the government is too unaccountable, and it's like, the government does have a lot of power, and there's a lot of people in the government who would exploit that power. Guess what? They're all fucking capitalists.
Yeah.
Guess what? They're all fucking, financial ghouls. They're profiteers. Not only that, like, yes, I don't think we have democratic control over our own government. We have even less democratic control over corporations and over these businesses that own everything that we need to survive. And it's like, yes, we should make the government even more democratic, and then have the government do a bunch of good stuff.
Yeah.
And I just like what they're trying to trigger. I think the abundance agenda here, like what I think they're trying to tap into, is like the temporarily embarrassed Democratic strategist in all of us.
Yeah.
Because like for so long, this is what like Democrat liberal voters did and how they acted. It's like an under-discussed symptom of temporarily embarrassed millionaire syndrome, like CEO brain, or boss brain, or movie producer brain. We've talked about this a little bit, but like everything has to turn a profit, and everything has to be like maximally designed to hit all four quadrants and appeal to the most possible people, and everything has to like profit, even if that profit by definition is coming out of your pocket and being put into the pocket of a private corporation. And like every political idea has to be poll tested and focus grouped and managed for like marketplace success, even if the results that you're coming up with are extremely unpopular.
Yeah, none of it's practice. About the actual outcome. It's about the messaging and the optics, and
the myth of like the sensible centrist who will be turned off by the idea that we should have housing.
Yeah.
Like it's like what doomed, I don't know, Kamala Harris and like a lot of Democratic leaders is just this idea that they can just appeal to everybody, that they can appeal to the right wing on like all these issues like policing or immigration or shooting home invaders or letting Israel mow down Palestinian women. Like Kamala Harris should have won the election because numerically, like she had a numerically advantageous portion of the US electorate that she was appealing to, and it just doesn't work. And everybody knows it doesn't work. Especially like the right wingers that she's trying to appeal to. Like they're the first ones to call it fake and cynical and not believe that she'll follow through on any of that stuff, even though like her administration already was doing all this stuff, you know? So it's just, I don't like, I'm glad to see Democratic voters apparently, like by virtue of this poll, at least being like, hey, what if we voted for the stuff we liked?
Yeah.
Instead of what if we voted, instead of like being like, well, what would Mitt Romney vote for?
Yeah.
Or how can we get the spirit of John McCain to embrace our platform, you know? So I think that's what like these abundance people are trying to drag us back into, is the idea that you can't trust your own feelings about how hungry you are or how expensive your rent is, and instead you have to like play this game of marketing and managing and massaging opinion and stuff like that. And I don't know. I think people are sick of it. It's a disgusting way to do politics.
Especially when all you really need to do to get the spirit of John McCain to endorse your party is if you guys can somehow get me in the same room as Megan and like just let me kind of, you know, do my thing, you know, charm her up a little bit.
For sure.
We will get the endorsement of John McCain's spirit from here on out.
Okay.
That's I just got to get in the room and, you know, put the vibe out, you know, and I'll be good. I'll do that. I'll do that for my country.
Yeah. We'll look into that. Yeah, I don't know. So again, so apparently popular things are popular and they're becoming more popular with Democratic voters. So we're happy to see that.
You know, this might be a good time. I know it might seem antithetical, but there's a good time to maybe announce that we're going to be doing an abundance tier on Patreon. It's $100 a month, and it's the same stuff you get at Patreon, except you're going to get more vibes. You're going to get more vibes and an abundance of vibes. And we're going to use the word abundance in positive words that sound really cool a lot for you. So if you want to do that, go for it. You won't see any change like in what's your inbox, except for the vibes are going to be up. So go ahead and subscribe for $100 a month for the abundance tier. Yeah,
it'll be the same glorious product that you're used to experiencing as an American consumer. So just, you'll look forward to that. I think we got time for one more segment. And this is just going to be a little weird one. So you know those videos, Tony, of I don't know if you've seen them. I've reposted them. Just like obviously fake TikTok videos of like some public encounter where somebody's having a public freak out or somebody's too woke for their own freaking good and they're getting mad at a guy in a MAGA hat.
Yeah.
And it's just like the worst acted thing you've ever seen. It's like, why are all these supposed high school students 45 in this classroom? Like, what is happening? And it's usually along the lines of like, woke black teacher tries to make student take off his MAGA hat and he doesn't get upset and he just refuses to do it. And he's extremely reasonable in this encounter. It's wild how reasonable I've noticed all Trump voters and fans are, and how unhinged and deranged all teachers I've seen, you know. Another like recent strain of these are plane incidents where like the captain of the plane will be wearing a MAGA hat and some passenger will have a freaking tantrum and say, I'm not going anywhere until you take this hat off. And it's like, first of all, if my pilot were wearing a MAGA hat, I would be like, okay, this person's insane.
Yeah.
It's not even like, sure. I'm sure there's plenty of Trump voting pilots that you would never know because they're still able to fly a plane or whatever. If they're wearing a MAGA hat, I would be like, is this like a TPUSA? Is this like a right-wing version of The Rehearsal? What am I watching right now? This feels very dangerous.
I love that too, because like that is a real thing that's happening with people, except for it's when their pilot's black. They're like, whoa, hold on. Who taught this guy how to fly? But they're like, they saw that real thing happening and they're like, what if it was a MAGA hat instead?
Yeah, and then it would be one of the worst injustices we've ever faced if one passenger was like, why are you wearing that? But yeah, these are like obviously fake videos that go viral all the time. I see them all the time on Facebook. They're all kind of produced in the same way. They're all like very unreal looking. Like if you have any, I don't know, media literacy at all, just the acting is extremely bad, like worse than pornography acting. And so one of these videos I saw shared on Twitter by some user called Antunes or Antunes, I don't know, but it was a video of a bus. He deleted the video, so I can't show it to you. But it was a video of a black guy on a bus putting his feet up on the back of a handicapped woman's motorized wheelchair. Did you see this, Tony?
Yep, I saw that one.
What context did you see it in?
I think I saw it on like TikTok, and there's that thing too, where like, you know, you start watching, I go, this is interesting, and then you realize right away that it's like fake. There's like no way it's real, but it's this thing. It's kind of just to show how like that whole point of that video is like show how like righteous conservative white men are.
Yeah, because the black guy has his feet up on her wheelchair, and there's a lone white man confronting him saying, "Hey, bruh, that's not cool. Don't do that." And then the woman in the wheelchair, she's like, "No, it's okay. I don't want to get beaten to death by this vicious animal. Please appease him." And the black dude's like, "What are you going to do about it?" Yada, yada, yada. But then another white man stands up, and then another white man stands up. And the black guy is immediately like, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and like puts his hands up, and it's all very, very fake. It's hard to like explain, or it's hard to like convey just how obviously fake it is. I hope you can imagine, because I don't have the video.
What's interesting about these videos to me, because I was just thinking about these in general, is that like, so the whole point of they're kind of rage bait videos, you know, they're supposed to be like, the thing is, not everybody does have media literacy, as we know. So if you're volunteering to be in these videos, aren't you like a little bit worried that someone's going to see this video and then like see you in real life and be like, "Oh, you're the fucking guy that was putting his leg on the wheelchair. You're putting your feet all over that lady. Like, fuck you," like in public, because that's what we do now. You know, when someone's publicly shamed with a video that gets leaked, you're supposed to publicly shame them. You know, and it's like, is it worth it? Like, how much are you guys getting paid? Like, I don't think you're getting paid very much.
Yeah, I don't know if you're doing a video, you're like this, you're like, okay, so this is a racism video for stupid people. They're just probably going to attack some other black guy instead of me. I don't have to worry about that.
That is true. That is true.
They're going to attack like every other black guy.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. Because I'm gonna wear my MAGA hat so they know it's not me.
This video had like millions of views, tens of thousands of likes, and I think the caption on it was something like "white men are standing up," "white men are getting tired of black men putting their feet up on wheelchairs." And so this guy, Jason Whitlock, conservative commentator, replied to this video, "This is staged / acted." Now, Jason Whitlock is a black conservative commentator who has a podcast for The Blaze. I'm reading here. This is from Wikipedia. Well, some of this is from a different outlet, but the podcast is called Fearless with Jason Whitlock. On Blaze's website, the description reads that he and his cast, quote, "protect the realm of common sense and challenge the groupthink mandated by the elites." Since then, he's spoken about topics such as masculinity, claiming that men in sports were being emasculated, and has also made anti-trans comments. He compared Black Lives Matter to the KKK. In 2023, he released a 2-hour video questioning whether Michelle Obama was transgender. Imagine
How
that.
long was the video?
2 hours. Imagine that.
That's
taking
wild.
Just taking a right-wing meme and doing it for 2 hours.
That means there's at least 30 minutes of him just analyzing her calves. You know,
like doing a 2-hour video on litter boxes in public school bathrooms.
Wild.
Also in December 2023, Whitlock has expressed a dislike of the 19th Amendment and said that granting suffrage to women destroyed the principle of one vote per household, which he associates with a time when American culture more strongly valued the family unit.
Brother.
So this is a guy who compared Black Lives Matter to the KKK, attacked Michelle Obama, a black woman, for supposedly being a trans man, has attacked women's suffrage, suddenly being like, hey, what's with all the racism, guys?
What's going on?
It's kind of weird that this astroturfed rage bait designed to get people mad at black people is going so viral. I better tell everybody that this is staged / acted, and A-Tunes replies with just Jason Whitlock's photograph. It says, okay, meaning you're black. That's the comeback.
I was being more generous to that. I was because it's like a headshot, like his picture is like a headshot that you would probably use in like casting. I thought he was saying, okay, actor. I thought that's what he was saying, but you're totally right. He's saying, okay, black guy.
This is just his profile pic. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, black guy is what he meant.
Amazing.
I like, what did you think? Like, oh, the elites won't let us talk about the real issues, like how the Black Lives Matter are actually the KKK. Hey, what's up with all this racism?
He really blew it. He should have said, you know, as a self-hating black man, this is staged / acted.
Just wait, we got a good one. Yeah. Okay. So here's like here's a little screenshot of the video, so you can kind of see how, like, the woman in the wheelchair looks like Mimi Bobek from the Drew Carey show.
Yep. It's funny because I never really paid attention to the woman in the video. You know me, I don't really pay attention to women in videos. And like, I didn't really realize what a costume this is. Like, yeah, it looks like they went into a wardrobe and said, make yourself an old lady in a wheelchair.
Yeah, she's got like a lace scarf on. She's got a hot pink blazer and like, I don't know, just like layer of costume. And the video has 184,000 likes and 13 million views in this comment section. But yeah, Jason said this is I just want to focus on the responses to Jason here. And I want to see the right wing react to one of its good black political commentators, rightfully pointing out that this is staged / acted. Finnica replies, maybe, but Jason, do you deny this happens daily? I like your stuff, but there's real black fatigue out there.
We really like I forgot, because after we talked about black fatigue, and how like that's they've been using that. It's become even more prominent now to where, like, yeah, this black fatigue now, for those who don't know, does not mean the existence of being black in America and how exhausting that is. It means you're tired of black people.
Yeah.
It's what it means now on the internet,
which means I'm racist.
Incredible. And like, I love this comment because it's like, do you deny this happens daily? Like, yeah, black men are just disrespecting.
I deny this happened once. This didn't even happen once in this video.
Now, do I think that there's like a mob mentality amongst white men who like overreact to black people existing daily? Absolutely. I think that is for sure happening. But no, I don't think this is happening at all. Mostly because I don't even think her wheelchair is properly on the bus correctly to be safe. I think I think she's like oriented wrong.
Yeah, maybe he was trying to like stabilize her with his feet.
That's what it seems like. I think he was caring about her safety.
Do you deny this stuff happens daily?
Daily.
Oh man, I guess I can. I guess you really got me there. the fake video of a guy putting his feet up on a wheelchair on a handicapped woman. So fucking stupid.
Jason, do you know that art does not reflect life? Is that what you're saying?
Drew from Philly, whose is Philly Devil, and his avatar is him smoking a cigar, replies to Jason saying this is staged / acted. No, period. It's not, period. But thanks for wasting your time, period. You got proof? Line break. No, line break. STFU.
Got his ass.
And so this is like a lot of what you'll get when you say, hey, that quote is fake, or hey, this video is fake, or hey, the thing this person asserted is fake. Unironically, right-wingers will reply to you, oh, do you have proof? What's the proof that this is fake? What's the proof that this doesn't exist?
Yeah, and like the reason why they're so like firm in that is because they're like, no, I like the way I felt watching this. This made me feel good about being a white man. I think it has to be real.
Right. But also, I don't know, anybody who's taken a philosophy class or like a logic class or just a science class or an introduction to science knows that you can't prove that something doesn't exist. That's not a thing that is possible to do. That is not a thing that is sensible to ask of somebody.
Yeah.
But these people are so fucking deranged and so far from their own facts and logic narrative that they will with a straight face be like, well, prove that it doesn't exist. Prove that it's a lie. It's like, I don't have to do that. The video is fake. The video didn't prove that it's real.
My proof would be that there is not like there's not some TikTokers out there like doxing the man who put his feet on the wheelchair. That's kind of my proof there is like that, because that's not happening, because this guy hasn't like been beaten up in a public square yet. That's why I think this is fake. That's my proof.
Yeah, but yeah, Drew from Philly, just asserting, no, it's not staged, it's not acted, but thanks for wasting your time. Shut the fuck up. And then Giovante replies, they're called Beverly Hills Comedy Team, and they have many videos resembling this one. They make those airplane flight videos such as these. And yeah, he's quote tweeted another tweet from a Trump fan account that says, this numbskull picks a fight with 75-year-old vet on an airplane. Fuck around and find out. And it's, just a fake rage bait boomer boner video. And Drew from Philly responds, I don't know how these airlines allow them to do this shit. ... That's wild. Thanks for educating me, my friend.
Amazing. Like, that's the thing is like, wow, they got on the plane and shot this. This is nuts. And I think what really happened was like there was some sort of deal where you can like shoot videos on a plane stage for really cheap, and maybe like a bus for really cheap, and so they just ran with it.
Oh, how they actually did this? They fucking bought a fake plane. They like bought a set. These are sets. There are movies with fucking planes with cabins in them. There are movies with buses. It's phenomenal for these people to be like, well, this there's an airline seat in this photo. This has to be real. What is a movie? At Grok, what are movies true?
No, my friend was on a plane, and it happened to be the plane that they were shooting Sully on, and they did end up landing in the river. That's real. So that I don't know. I don't think they can do plane sets. I think plane sets are illegal.
I saw the rehearsal, and I know that every plane is 100% real, like the one Nathan Fielder was flying.
Yeah.
But it just instantly went from, no, it's not. I'm not racist. I justifiably hate black people because this video is real. Somebody showing him a totally different video and him being like, whoa, that's crazy. Wow, that's crazy. And still thinking that it's partially real. That it's partially on a plane, that it was filmed. Like, even if it's staged, it was still filmed on a plane. We're just like, we're not going to make it, folks, unfortunately. I'm sorry to everybody.
It's funny. One of the biggest things that's like evidence of these is that there's never enough people on the planes or buses to be believable. Like, there's just like the 5 people that are featured and have, talking usually. And there's never, it's clearly not a real plane, because no one in the background is yelling like, shut the fuck up, sit down.
It's also filmed with a high def camera right on the action, right like proscenium staging where you get both people in the shot perfectly. There's just so many red flags about any of this.
If you're an Android user, you wouldn't question that part. You wouldn't just know that you can do that with your phone.
So again, more replies to Jason Whitlock saying this was fake/staged. Florida secessionist says always with the black cope. And the angry Ukrainian 2 replies, I'm whiter than legal paper. It's staged.
Thank you, white man.
And then Florida secessionist replies, I don't care about the video. Jason here is just displaying his black cope.
What? He's just displaying his black cope, where we tell him that, like, where we are not admitting that this is fake, and then this has to be what black people are like. He's coping. He's
displaying his black cope that I'm racist.
Yeah.
Cope harder. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I mean, I get, like, I guess it sucks that you're racist. And I understand why a black person would have to cope with that fact. I liked this one though. Director of GIB says, I'm white, period, and racist, period. That shit was staged though.
And like, they're like disappointed. Listen, I love me a video of something that makes me, like, fuels my racism. I love that shit. But this one's fake, unfortunately.
Enron Hubbard replies, staged by whom and for what purpose? And you, the listener, and maybe me, I would be like, oh yeah, why would somebody stage this racist video sharing it with a racist caption? Can't possibly imagine. And it's funny that it's the guy who posted this was Enron Hubbard, which is like, wow, what a cool, like, jokey, name that would have been, I guess, funnier 10 years ago when that style of, like, punny leftist Twitter handle was really popular. Now I think this is just like a fucking AI bot or something, because the is at Hubbard _EN 98653 that probably only exists because of 10 years worth of DSA puns on Twitter. Like, that's, maybe there's somebody actually behind this account or something like that, but it seems like it was generated by AI based on really old Twitter jokes. Why staged by whom and for what purpose? And then the racist guy replies, for clicks, period, like everything online.
I mean, you're not wrong. It sucks when the white racist is right.
I would say he's right, but he's not all the way right. Like, it's not just 4 clicks. It's 4 racist click. It's for your project. It's for your racist. I love him being like, well, that's just capitalism. It's like, fuck you. You love this video. Fuck off, man.
You shared it. I know you shared it.
Freaking hate, hey, Twitter, it's not just Facebook where people go to be miserable. It's also Twitter. Any problem can only be exacerbated by social media, whining about it or whatever. Yeah.
Amen.
And LCSA replies to Jason, are you telling me a black man would put his pride on the line and destroy his character for a skit in which he is totally in the wrong on purpose?
This has got to be, this is an aware comment, right? This person's smart and they're calling Jason out, right?
This person's avatar is of Trump, AI Trump in like a fisherman's outfit, manning the helm, like perhaps in stormy seas. So no, I don't think they're intelligent.
Man, that's so funny. Because it's like, Jason, have you heard of this? I don't think that a black man would possibly, put his pride on away just to make some money, to make a couple quick dollars.
Wow, a black person aligning with reactionary forces in order to, achieve some short-term gain. That sounds crazy, right, Jason Whitlock?
Yeah, no, that's not the case.
I also just like there's a couple things I love about this. Like, you're asserting that a black person wouldn't act this way in a fake way because it would be undignified.
Yes.
But they would act this way in a real way, and that wouldn't be undignified.
Yep.
Like that's a weird line to draw. And then also it's just like, Jason, are you telling me that there's movies? Are you telling me that there's actors, that there's people who do things for money that often are quite demeaning? Have you heard of this thing called TikTok? Like do you know what social media is? Do you know what people do this shit for free? That guy maybe got paid $500 or $100 or something. And if he had turned it down, somebody would have done it for free. I don't know what to tell you. Yes, there are a lot of idiots out there who will totally abase themselves for just to get their like face on TikTok or whatever. And then there's also like a lot of immiseration in the world, and there's a lot of people struggling. And yes, often when people are struggling, they will do bad stuff to help alleviate the struggle. It's such a weird, like, innocent existence a lot of these right-wingers have, I guess, just like this response. Like, are you 12 years old? I don't understand.
Yeah. I have a list of profiles to send you to show you that yes, this happens all the time.
And I think like maybe we'll just go out on, I was looking at more of this guy, the guy who originally posted the video. I was looking at more of his posts on here. And he was doing a lot of like anti-pornography posting. And his bio says, law, controversial writer, DM for business / promo, quote, particularly bigoted troll. And he's quoting some outlet who covered him. And his link is whitelivesmatter.store. So I forgot, under this video, he was like promoting White Lives Matter merch before he eventually deleted the post, which I'm like shocked at. Like, a lot of people were calling him an idiot for seemingly thinking that the video was real. I never assumed that he thought the video was real. He just, could have thought that would be an advantageous video to share because so many other people think it's real. So it's kind of astounding that he actually deleted it. Maybe Twitter deleted it. I can't imagine that happening. But I was kind of shocked that he, like, if he chose to delete it to like display some sense of shame about it, that seems so foreign now. But yeah, his other post about like pornography, is like pornography is the most dangerous addiction for men or something like that. Special Officer Doofy replied, when I gave up watching porn and listening to rap music, my life instantly became a more positive and happier space. This is not a coincidence. We all know who pushes pornography and rap music. And then he included the juice box emoji, which is racist for juice. Jews, get it?
Took me a second. Because I was thinking, I was like, wait, is he saying that like black people push these things? But yeah, no, I was like, how's that relevant? Yeah, juice box. I get it.
And Antunes replies, facts. Amazing. Glad those changes made a big difference. I love like these, right? Because this is like a big thing. Like, they've pointed out like certain websites were owned by like Pornhub was owned by a Jewish guy at one point who sold it to somebody else. And they have this like conspiracy theory that I'm jacking off too much because the Jews are too powerful.
It's that's the real reason why they're pushing circumcision. It's pretty fucked up. If you're like you're the person who's like anti-porn, you're just telling on yourself.
Yeah,
like so many people watch porn in a very reasonable fashion. Like doesn't take up hours of their day.
No, just like 5 minutes every hour. That's all you need.
That's it. Just a little something take the edge off. But it's just like, or put the edge on, I should say. But yeah, like you're just telling on yourself that you're a little fucking freak. Like, what's wrong with you?
Skill issue. Sorry.
And like, imagine telling your friends, like, "Hey guys, so I don't know if you noticed, but I'm doing a lot better now. It's because I stopped watching porn." It's like, damn, how much porn were you watching, brother? Like, that's kind of wild.
I have so much time for like chores around the house now that I'm not just gooning for 12 hours a day. I mean, you brought up circumcision. You know, I can't really let this slide. I mean, that's just such a big flaw in this conspiracy theory about Jews wanting you to jerk off all the time. It's easier to jerk off if you still have your foreskin, folks.
Yeah.
So kind of a conflict there, I would say. Feels amazing. God, it feels so amazing to just not have to constantly jerk my shit all day. Like I'm so glad through the glory of Christ I was able to overcome this evil Semitic plot to get me to wank my stuff.
So wild. Imagine like, just being so open and you go to your friend's house and it's kind of a mess and there's like, sorry guys, I've been slipping. I've just been watching too much porn these days. I dishes are out of control. Laundry's all mixed up. I don't know which towel's which anymore. It's bad.
And then at the end of this thread about how pornography is bad, he wrote, today's men struggle in silence with issues no one talks about: low confidence, damaged self-esteem, compulsive masturbation, porn addiction. It's time to start the conversation. Ready to take control and reclaim your masculinity? Download Hold X and quit porn for good. Start today. And it's a link to the Apple Store with this what do you call it? Sponsored product. It's so funny how perfectly like capitalism aligns with whatever ideology you need it to, whatever weird, like even seemingly fringe or outside the norm your political stance is. Guess what? There's somebody willing to make money off of it. Guess what? There's a product for that. Now, is it going to work? No, because you're a bad person. You're just inherently an evil person, and there's nothing you can do about that. But they will sell you, a fake cure, a snake oil for it.
And it's just funny too, because like the what he's selling you is just like, if men would just realize that, having like a 9.5-inch cock and being able to fuck for 45 minutes and just, the women losing their mind and eyes rolling in the back of their heads and doing all that, dramatic stuff, that's like not regular sex. If they could just understand that, it would solve all these problems. But instead they're just like, nope, you can't, you gotta stop doing that. It's messing with your self-confidence and, your self-esteem. It's bad stuff. You're masturbating too much to these huge cocks. You got to stop.
I mean, I imagine like, I don't watch OnlyFans or whatever, but like the good thing about OnlyFans, or like the selling point of OnlyFans, is that it's like controlled by the women who have the account or the people who have the account. And so theoretically, they're going to be like doing stuff that they like, or that works for them, or that, whatever, that's sustainable, or that's maybe more realistic and not as like put through the weird like history of professional pornography, put through that filter or whatever. But these people are even more against OnlyFans than they are like whatever, quote, like regular porn or professional porn. So I guess that's not an answer either.
That's what we need to do. We need to start marketing like marketing OnlyFans is something that like the Jews are less involved in. It goes straight to the people, that maybe that will help them finally start paying for their porn.
Yeah, totally. Well, okay. I think that's a good place to leave the episode. Absolutely a good message for everybody to take back with them. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for supporting the show. If you do so, if not, there's still time to go over to patreon.com/minion death cult, where $5 a month gets you a bonus episode every single week. And we got a good bonus episode coming up for you this week as well. If you have an extra, 30 seconds, go ahead and give us a rating and review on iTunes and your Apple Podcast app. 5 stars. If you got a couple extra seconds, just say something nice about the show. It helps other people see who we are and where we are and what we're about. So thanks for doing that. And anything else to add, Tony?
Yeah, the biggest thing we talk about is tell a friend. Let your friends know. The best stuff I know is things that my friends put me onto. So do your friends that favor and let them know what a good time this show is. And also that way you don't look like such a freak when you start talking about what we talk about. They would be more informed, and it will be nice for everybody.
Totally. Yeah. To just be a nice excuse to talk about porn and pornography addiction and whether the Zionists have infiltrated OnlyFans. So yeah. Great conversation starters. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you again soon, folks. Bye.
Peace.